Hello and welcome to your favorite cricket program, Cotton Board. My name is Tinashe. I'll be your host as usual. We are always out here trying to bridge the gap between you, the fans who are so important to us, and the stars of your game. Today, I've got a very special star, a lady who has defied odds and paved way for many a girl to come into the game that we love. This is the former captain, Julia Chibhabha. Julia, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. We were actually hoping we'd have had you quite a while back because we were struggling to balance our numbers as far as actually having a gender balance. So you've done very well to, bridge that gap for us. Let's talk about what I missed, because you are not only a captain, you have been many things. You were the first captain of Takashinga, you were the first captain of Mashonaland, you were the first captain of Zimbabwe. There's lots of firsts, and you're also the first lady at Cotton Board. Tell me what I missed about Julia.
I think maybe the one highlight of my career was being the vice captain of the Africa select squad that went to India for the T20. So that's one of the highlights. And then also being a selector now.
Yeah.
I think those are the two that I would say are at the top.
Okay.
Not necessarily saying the other
Yes, are important. Yes.
are not important, but I think it's the influence that you get from those experiences.
Yes.
Where it's no longer just local, but it's also international. And at the same time, being a selector, it's having that influence to other women as well and girls who are coming up to say, okay, it's possible, and there are women that are in the setup that can also have a look at us.
All right. So tell me more about your job as a selector, what it entails, and how it has changed you.
I think it's just basically looking at the best players that we can get in the national squad. The role particularly requires you to be able to see when they're playing, and also just to have an independent assessment and selection of players.
When you mean independent, you mean there is a chance that you might be a selector and not have an independent view?
No, in the sense that, when you look at the previous years, we've had selection that has been done within the setup of the technical squad, technical team.
Okay.
So there, when I talk of the independence, it's in the sense that you being a coach, there is that possibility that you might prefer a certain player based on how they perform, and not really look at the overall performance of an individual player. Okay. So it can be they could be bowling very well, they might not be batting very well.
So in hindsight, you mean that there is a chance that the technical staff can have favors?
Not favors. I mean, I've been a coach for the longest time.
Yes.
I've coached kids from as young as 3 years. And it's bound to it's not something that we say,
I want to favor this.
It's bound to happen because you're dealing with a child on a personal level, right? Regardless of whether they're a boy or a girl, it's on a personal level. So the more you interact with them, you understand what their problems are. So probably they might just be having a challenge in those few months or so, and they're a good player. Right?
Okay.
So you can say, because I've seen them play at their best, but right now it's just not coming together. Let's just continue to have them in the setup, and then eventually it will come right. But then as a selector now,
it's different. It's a different point.
It's a different one because yes, I do interact with the players, but there's a point where you say, no, let's also give others an opportunity. Though we might not have seen them at their best, or they haven't had that opportunity, but as we come in as selectors, we are that voice that is not
that sort bold of voice that is got no feelings.
But at the same time, we still have where
feelings.
No, let's keep this player. But at the end of the day, the good thing is I'm not just by myself. There's a panel that is there, so where I can feel, I feel this player could be beneficial for the squad. Someone can come in and say, no, let's try this player.
So you speak about the panel. And there is Mlilo and Jinjika in your panel.
Yes.
How is your working relationship amongst the three of you?
I think we've tried to be as open as possible when it comes to selection. Put everything on the table. If we're going to argue it out, then we go for it.
And you have gotten to that stage?
Yes, to a point where sometimes you just don't agree, and then you give yourself a space to sort of just
Calm down.
recollect, and then we come back again, and then just try and discuss to get consensus on a decision.
So you as a convener, okay, what does that mean? Being a convener of selectors, what does it mean? Because you being a selector means that you contribute in selecting someone, right?
Yes.
But as a convener of selectors, what does that mean?
As a convener, I'm more or less like the overall voice on the panel. So
Okay.
we will discuss everything, and then with consultation with the technical team, we come up with a squad that we feel can best represent the country.
Okay.
Where there are probably disagreements on particular players, then it takes a lot of digging into stats, looking back on how they've performed. I also get a chance to speak to them individually.
The players.
So, yes. So I have a rough idea of how best we can get
Results from them, maybe.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, like we spoke about you being in a team with Emily and then with Mlilo.
Yes.
You said your relationship is okay.
Yes, look, this is a professional setup. In any setup where you have professionals, you'll never have a time where you agree, particularly on decision making.
Yes.
But these are women that I've played with, so they know when it comes to decision making. And I, like what you said before, I've been a captain, and there are decisions that I've made that have not
Been popular.
Yes. So this is nothing new. This is actually a bit easier than the stress that I have and the pressure that I have when I'm on the field making decisions than this one where
You can consult.
yes, and we've got enough evidence and stats to back up some of the decisions that we make.
All right, and I'm quite intrigued about that. Have you come to a situation at some point where you had to use your muscle as convener of selectors and say, guys, we are having this player, either you like it or not?
I think there's been one incident, but particularly because we couldn't come up with a tangible decision because we were so divided. One person had another opinion, one person had another opinion. And at the end of the day, we needed to look at what exactly could give us a better result. So, I mean, the role of convener at the end of the day is just to try and see how best we can come up with a team. So I've had to make a tough decision. Fortunately, it worked out in the end. So
Can you tell us if it worked out? Like if it worked out,
it
then,
did.
Yeah, so you can tell us.
Unfortunately, I can't give you like the specific
Come on, Julia.
incident.
I'm only to Nasha. Come
But
on.
yeah, look, I would have loved to tell you, but at the end of the day, our decisions are
Very
confidential as well.
Yeah.
And so our role is to just try and give every girl an opportunity. So if we feel a girl is deserving, we will give them a chance.
Give them a chance.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, what we just want for them to do is get the chance. If they don't manage to maximize on it, well, at least they will have known that they were given a chance and then couldn't capitalize on that.
So as a selector also, you have had times where you have to tell players that they are going to sit out, or maybe their time as cricketers is coming to an end. And how have you handled that? Because that's quite disappointing to be the bearer of bad news, you know?
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
I think for now, I've been lucky in the sense that we haven't reached that stage yet where someone is coming to the end of their career.
Yeah.
But when it comes to maybe a player being dropped, yes, I've had a few chats with the players. Some of them can get, a bit confrontational. But at the end of the day, I think as a player, you always want to be part of the squad, right? You feel like you could also give meaningful input to
the team winning games.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, we are trying to give every player an opportunity. So where we feel the need to include someone in the squad, we will do so. And it's up to the player who's probably been dropped to go and work on their game. If they still feel probably they've been disadvantaged or there's no proper, like, a reason that they feel they should have been dropped, I think it's just a matter of...
Has there been situations like that where you actually get confrontational with players and they feel like you have pushed them a little bit too early?
I've had an encounter, but it wasn't a national team player.
Okay.
It was a provincial player. So the biggest disadvantage we have, particularly with ladies at the moment, is we don't have a wide player base. So we've had players that have been in the setup, some that are still breaking in. So most of them don't really understand what it takes to be a quality player who will represent the country. So it's more or less like if I come and bowl and take maybe 2-3 wickets, then I should be in the squad.
Team. Yeah.
You know, and then a lot of comparison. So each and every player is unique in their own way, and how they contribute is not the same as the next player.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one thing that we're probably working on, to make sure we educate the girls more to understand the game and what it requires. So every time I speak to the girls, they actually realize that, oh, these are things that we look at that they probably don't think about.
Know.
Yeah, because cricket is not just about coming to bat. You've also got to be fit. You have to field, you have to bowl if you're a bowler. So
you have to be a good teammate.
Yes.
So I want to hear more about squad transition, because there've been talks about the team aging and a couple of players probably have reached their apex and there's a couple of exciting youngsters on the sides. What are you doing about that, and what's the challenge in terms of moving on some of the older players that might have probably reached their apex in the team?
At the moment, I think it's still early to say, because we've just come from the COVID era where there wasn't much cricket being played. So we're now starting to play games. And the good thing is we've seen some upcoming players who are raising their hand. But to really say, can they make the national squad, it's a big question, because there's also a lot that comes with it. But we are happy that we're starting to have those numbers. And over time, I think we will start including them, probably in training with the national squad up until they're mature enough to handle the pressures of the game. Talking about the other players that are aging, we haven't gotten to that point as yet. Some of them are a bit older, but are still performing quite well. So we don't want to quickly get rid of them, because they still can
contribute to the team meaningfully.
Contribute, yeah.
All right, and I want to look back at 2021, which was, in my opinion, and obviously my opinion doesn't count for much, otherwise I'll be sitting in there. But 2021 was a year that was very busy for the ladies, which we spoke about hosting Ireland and then hosting the qualifiers, going to Botswana for the qualifiers, and then coming back and hosting Bangladesh. Obviously, there was that very difficult period where Pakistan came and then things didn't really materialize, because of COVID.
Yeah.
But that building up of games for the Zimbabwe side, does that show the growth of the team and the game itself in Zimbabwe?
The game is definitely growing. There is more games that the girls are playing, and there is more awareness of women's cricket in Zimbabwe. You find we're starting to have crowds at matches, which was never the case, if you look a couple of years ago. So 2021, I think that was the peak for women's cricket. It's just unfortunate. We had some highs and lows, and we also had quite a number of injuries. But I'd like to believe we had our best players in 2021. But, things happen. And like I talked about injuries, those are some of the major problems that we ended up having, where a lot of cricket that was being played, because 2020, there wasn't much happening. Now, they transitioned into a lot of cricket in 1 year. So we had quite a number of our good players and senior players getting injured, recovering, then getting injured again. So
before you guys went to Botswana, okay, that's a tournament that is known to be won by Zimbabwe. Those Africa qualifiers, we always rule the roster there. I'm actually even proud, that whenever we go out there, we come back with a medal. You spoke to one of my producers, and you actually gave importance to the global qualifiers. Do you think you imagined them going the way they went? And were you impressed with how we actually handled those games?
To be quite honest, the Botswana qualifiers, for me, look, I'm not trying to take anything away from the other countries, but for me, it was a non-event because where we are now, we're looking at competing with the likes of West Indies, the likes of Bangladesh, the likes of Pakistan. So there is just going to fulfill a fixture that we're supposed to participate in. And you could see from the results that sometimes the scores would just be, when you talk of cricket,
Yeah,
you
it's
can't,
overwhelming.
you can't be talking of 38 all out. So I didn't expect that we would have any losses, but looking at sports in general, whenever you're playing with a team that you deem to be weak, sometimes you also drop down to their level, and then it also affects how you play. So I'm happy that they managed to qualify to go to the next stage. So we're looking forward to, you know, getting the top spot again in the global qualifiers for the T20. So that is work in progress, and hoping for the best. Yeah.
Work in progress and hoping for the best as it is. I am here at Harare Sports Club, a very nice venue for us, and I'm with Julia Chibhabha, former Zimbabwe captain and the first captain to actually don the Zimbabwe jersey. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back with more of Julia Chibhabha. Welcome back. I'm here with Julia Chibhabha, former captain of Zimbabwe and now convener of selectors, and also doing a couple of other things on the side. Julia, when we went to that break, we were speaking about the cricket that Zimbabwe ladies had played in 2021, and I want to take you back to the Bangladesh tour in Bulawayo. That didn't go to plan, did it?
Well, if I'm to say it didn't go to plan, I would be lying, because we always plan to win. How we will win, we don't know. Like, we don't know who is going to perform on the day.
You didn't win any in Bulawayo.
Yes, these are things that happen, right? It's part of growth, right? So every game actually is a learning curve. Unfortunately, like what you said, we didn't expect that we would lose all the games, but unfortunately we did. And every game that we played, we took a lesson from it. So yeah, after the series, we dusted ourselves off and looked forward to the next challenge.
The next challenge, which was the qualifiers, and the qualifiers that you deemed very important.
Yes.
I want to just stay with you on that Bangladesh tour. Do you think some of those results actually had a negative impact on the way you guys played in the qualifiers?
To some extent, I think it did, more so mentally than skill-wise, because I think they were starting to get their form back and thought probably they were now getting there. And you have a series where you don't win a single match, so it can have
and also lose dismally in some of the other, because in some of the matches Zimbabwe didn't pitch up.
Yeah.
If you are being honest, you and me.
Yes. So we need to appreciate the fact that these girls are raw, in the sense that they haven't been exposed to so many different scenarios or situations in cricket. So we have a mixed bag of players, senior players and junior players, and how they approach the game. Particularly, I'll keep on emphasizing on mentally.
Yeah.
It's so detrimental to the game because you can have one player who thinks, no, I can ball, right? The moment they get on the field, they start thinking about so many things. Right? So these are things that we take for granted, but I've noticed whenever you talk to a player, they've got so much that's going on in their head. They've got the weight of the country on their shoulders. They've got the weight of Zimbabwe cricket on their shoulders. They've got me.
The selector on their shoulders.
Yes. So because we're also watching to see who performs better. So they're busy thinking, if I don't perform today, probably I'm going to be dropped, right? So this is a lot for one person to deal with. So as a team as well, it's also a lot because already we're saying you need to win. And Bangladesh was just before the qualifiers. And for the qualifiers, we were saying we need to, this is the time for us to qualify.
Yeah.
Right. And I personally felt like we should have qualified. This is my goal is for us to go to the World Cup. We've got talented players, but that pressure can get too much.
It can get to you.
Yeah.
I just want to dwell on that qualification. All right, Julia, because we got our ODI status in April last year. So it wasn't 8 months away from the status itself. Mm-hmm. But already you are speaking about a team that is 8 months into its life as a one-day side, actually beating sides that have got over 100 caps in qualification.
Yes.
So you understand the knowledge and the processes that they actually need to get through before they actually become a formidable one-day side.
Yes.
And you think they had it in the qualifiers?
I could say they had it, and I can also say they didn't have it. Because in terms of being an all-round cricketer, and here I'll continue to say the mental aspect, I'm just putting it on the side.
Yeah.
Being a wholesome cricketer, we've got some fantastic cricketers. I mean, look at Mary, look at Josephine, right? Modesta. They are very good players. But it doesn't mean it doesn't get to their heads, you know?
And you're hosting in that opener.
Yes.
Let's jump to that.
Look,
I know it's a difficult one because you are part and parcel of the team that actually gets that 11 on the field. Besides them wanting to perform as individuals, they had that overall pressure of being a national team and wanting to qualify.
yes.
What went wrong?
It's not easy being on the field and then you've got a lot at stake. And here it was each and every game you had to come and win. It's not an option where you can say, oh, let's just go 70%. It's go all out because we have to qualify.
Yeah, but on the technical side though, on the technical side of runs, wickets, fielding, the meats and bones of cricket. That's what I'm asking. I want to understand where in that particular game do you think we might have missed the trick?
Probably if we had batted well, because I think our bowling is quite decent.
Right?
I think our batting has always let us down.
Okay.
So we need runs on the board, especially from our top four. We expect runs because if you don't have runs on the board, what are the bowlers going to come and defend?
Yeah.
So it will always be, particularly with our side, it's the batting that is always something that is letting us down. But now I see we're starting to sort of get our confidence back.
Yes, we are.
And it's just unfortunate that it's coming back now when there really isn't much that we're fighting for. But we still have the T20 qualifiers, so that's still something that we need to work towards, and we need runs. So we're trying to work towards having our batters giving us something on the board.
Those runs that you need. Mm-hmm. And if I'm to say that problem of runs also caught us up with the USA game where we were actually, I was out of breath. Like I was somewhere in the commentary box, I was out of breath. I was losing my mind. What actually went wrong? Because USA is a side that we should be beating hands down.
Yeah, that one was a very tricky game. a lot of emotions, I think, on almost everyone was who had an interest with women's cricket. And our betting, I'll come back to that,
Yeah.
didn't really do us much justice. But then again, we were in a situation where we've lost 2 games. This is a must win. The pressure is back again.
Yeah.
Right. We've had pressure before, but now this is more pressure because this is you lose this one, then you're definitely out. Right? And we had Thailand who was breathing down our neck. They were winning games. So that pressure, look, I didn't realize pressure could have such an effect on players, but it was too much for the players.
Julia, you've spoken about mental issues, you've spoken about pressure, you've spoken about pressure, you've spoken about pressure. Right? You as a convener of selectors and a lady that played the game for many years for Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. Why is it that the ladies don't have a psychologist in the technical department?
We are starting to talk about having a psychologist in the setup. It's something that probably we overlooked, and this is something that is work in progress, particularly when you talk of even the technical team itself. It's now bigger than what it was. We would normally just have the coach and assistant coach and then the manager, but now we actually have specialist people for the different areas. So we're starting to grow, and I'm hoping once we have a psychologist rubbed in, the girls at least can now sort of focus on the game more and worry less about all these pressures that come from different angles.
Yeah.
Because here we're talking about, I don't want to make it into a sort of like a gender sort of.
Yeah, of course.
But
you're trying not to feel sorry for yourself. No, of course, yes, yeah.
But there are real things that happen to women.
Yeah.
Right? We have mothers in the squad, so it's not easy, but it's not an excuse.
I was gonna get to that. Julia, come on, you're being too good here. So let's move on. Mm-hmm. The Omicron variant happened.
Yes.
Do you feel it spared us some blushes?
No. I think it ruined a lot for us. We're now starting to ascend, and then boom, Omicron came, and then so it's.
So you still feel it's a missed opportunity?
Yes, it has taken away some of the opportunities that we could have utilized to grow the game. But unfortunately, we can't really do much about it. It has to be so much of the health of the players at the end of the day. So
I want to take you back to April. Ireland came through and we got that ODI status. Mm-hmm. And obviously, and many people don't know the amount of work that you and your peers, when I mean your peers, I mean the ladies that played the game before, most of them that are now starting to find roles in the game. People don't know the amount of work that you put in for 2021 to come, and then Zimbabwe gets an ODI status. Take me through the emotion of seeing 11 players that came after you getting ODI caps, because you never got one.
No. I think that it was a dream come true. Unfortunately for us, we no longer are playing, but you always wish, because at the end of the day, it's more of what we do for Zimbabwe, for our nation. And I feel like the girls have done a lot for the game, and they deserved it. And it gives them an opportunity to play more, to be more visible, in the world. Unlike before, where we were it was more of Africa. But now we're exposed to more cricket. They can even play in overseas clubs. That's an opportunity that is opened for them. And hopefully in the future we also play test games.
Do you feel some of the girls that are coming up, and even some that are playing now, understand what you guys and the guys that came before them had to give up for them to come to a stage where they can be kept as one-day players?
I don't think they do. But every stage has got its own experiences. So you probably find this generation of players that we have now, 10 years later they'll be saying, oh, things were hard then, but we feel probably they're getting it easy. So every generation will have their own
Do
experience.
you feel they're getting it easy?
No,
No.
but look, that's how things are. I can't expect the same experience that I had 10 years ago to be the same now. There's got to be that growth, and so I appreciate the fact that we've grown. The game has grown, and lucky enough, we're still in a setup to also help and make them understand what we went through.
Yeah.
And then to also appreciate and make sure they also leave a platform for the other players to come in and appreciate what they've also done.
In this segment, we've been through a lot about the game of cricket and how the ladies have had to handle lots of pressure, in terms of trying to perform and also deal with other things that happen in and around the game. We'll be back for more. My name is Julia Chibhabha and we are at Cotton Bound. Welcome back to Cotton Bound. I'm at Harare Sports Club where I am catching up and hearing a lot about the life of Julia Chibhabha as a cricketer and now his past life. Julia, I want to hear more about Julia the person. Tell me more about how you got into the game.
Okay, so there's only 2 of us that play cricket.
Well, that's rich, eh? That's rich because some of us only have one.
Yeah, so luckily it ended up being 2 because my father ended up being open-minded to the fact that girls can play cricket.
Okay.
So it wasn't an easy process for him to accept.
So it was your brother first and then you?
Yes. So my brother was playing at Chipembere Primary School. Then I went to see him play because I was on my O-level break. So there wasn't much I was doing. So when
O-level break?
Yes.
You were a late starter?
Yes.
Actually, very late starter.
Very late. So when I went, that's when I was quite intrigued by the game. That's how I started. And I went to Takashinga. That's when I started seriously being into the game. And I think that's how pretty much it started. Then eventually got into coaching. Well, I was still at school when I got into coaching.
So you had just started the game?
Yes.
You just blinked and opened up your eyes, you start playing the game, and tomorrow you're a coach, Julia. You make me understand here, this is too fast for me.
Okay. I used to play sport in school. I used to play hockey, I used to swim. So I think I was sporty, right? But not your usual sporty person.
Yeah.
Right? So when I went to Takashinga, I started by bowling, and then one of the coaches identified me as having potential.
Who was that coach?
It was Amos Maumba.
Amos Maumba.
Mm-hmm. So over the years, I think it was about 2-3 years while I was playing. Then there wasn't any girls that were playing cricket at Takashinga, so it was a very awkward situation. That's why my father was very strict and didn't really understand why I had to be
in and around boys.
Yes, so it was a challenge. It was a really, really big challenge, but eventually he warmed up to it.
Yeah.
And then, here I am now. So I got into coaching after 3 years being introduced to the game. Then I got my first certification for level, it was intermediate coaching. I went to Lord Malvern, they were having a coaching course there.
Okay.
So I actually walked there. And then it was a 3-day, it was a week-long course.
So you worked every day for a week?
Yes, Stanley Timoni was one of the facilitators.
Oh, okay.
So it was a wholesome course where we were taught how to coach, different strokes of batting, bowling, a bit of scoring and umpiring. So that's how I got to be in the game. And then also playing, that made it easier for me to understand how to also impart those skills to youngsters. So I went for my interview. It was actually at the rugby.
Taking the rugby field there?
Yes, with
Yeah.
Mr. Wiley.
Oh,
I was
Mr.
actually in my
Wiley.
school uniform when I went. So I just took off my tie, went for the interview, and he was quite impressed. And lo and behold, I was now one of the Zimbabwe cricket development coaches.
Oh, brilliant. So you speak about your father actually not warming up to you playing cricket. Obviously, now that made it difficult. If your own parents don't even warm up to you doing something, it's difficult. But on top of that, how difficult was it for you as a lady to get involved in cricket?
I think luckily for me, because we weren't that many, the boys were quite intrigued to see a girl with I used to go with a gym skirt and then a tracksuit bottom underneath. So it was quite funny for them, and they thought, I'm just here to clown around. But eventually they saw that I had potential, and I was quite interested in the game. So eventually they were welcoming, to a point where they were now treating me like one of the boys. So if you were having a high catch session, the ball would just disappear, right? And they didn't care. Yeah. So you were expected to catch the ball. If you didn't, you do laps like everybody else. So eventually I didn't really feel much like I was the only girl at the club. I just felt like I'm one of the players. So, and then eventually some of the other girls joined in, the likes of Emily. So it became easier for me to play. And my father started to understand, though not very much, that there were other girls that were playing.
But it was difficult at that time, and there was no financial incentive, pretty much nothing to keep you going. How did you keep going? What gave you the mojo to want to keep trying and trying and trying in this alien sport? Because there was never a national team that you could aspire to play into. What kept you going?
I think it's just the drive to want to succeed, to want to be something, to want to try and be the best at something.
It's something.
Right. And also looking at my background, my father was a policeman, and he could provide for us in the best way he could. Right. We went to boarding schools, which was okay, but I was looking forward to having a life that was better than what he had provided for us. He always spoke about aim to have more than what I'm giving you. So cricket was a platform that I saw that I could use, and also the fact that I was passionate about sport, so it made sense. So that transition into going to play cricket wasn't so difficult. The difficult part was everyone accepting the fact that I play.
You play cricket
with the boys.
Yeah. And other girls, how did they see you?
Like when I went for practice, I think not many people actually knew I was playing cricket.
Okay.
Because when I started playing, I was doing my A-levels. I would just go in my school uniform and then remove my uniform when I got to Takashinga. So they just thought probably I'm just going to watch. So I would change, practice, change back into my uniform and go home. So no one really knew. And like I said, I was not your typical sports person. So no one ever suspected that I would be running and doing all balls. Yes. Yeah. So at least there it gave me an extra edge to do my thing.
Your thing out of the watching eyes of the public. Excellent. So I want to talk about your highlights as a player. The things that you think, if I am to actually be known for something as a cricket player, this is what I did.
I think, look, the one surprise that I got was when we went to India, being part of that squad. They picked the best 12 in Africa.
The best 12 in Africa, yes. And you were part of that.
Yes, I went with Tando, one of the selectors that we have on the panel.
Oh, brilliant. How rewarding was that? Like for you to be plugged out of Zimbabwe to be in an African squad. that, mind you, Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa, Namibia have got brilliant ladies, and we were just starting.
Yeah.
You know, you just made your debut for Zimbabwe, and all of a sudden you are in this Africa squad. How was the feeling?
It was so surreal, and I think also, I don't want to try and be too modest, but we had really done well.
You are trying. You are trying. You just say, yeah, I'm not trying to be modest, but then being modest.
Yeah.
Come on, I want to hear this, the real feeling. What did you feel? Like, what was it? Like, going on that plane, getting that kit, you're actually representing Africa. That's massive.
I think the one thing that I felt, to be quite honest, is this. I just said to myself, it was more a message for my dad to say, look at me now.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
We experienced a lot. We fought a lot about me playing, and here I am getting on a plane going to India and being treated like royalty when we got there. This is an experience that I never thought I would get.
You have been treated like royalty.
I mean, we had police escort from the airport. We were fed like we are. Look, when I say royalty,
yeah, you mean royalty,
right? Staying at the best hotel. They made sure everything was okay for us. If there was any issue, they were onto it. So this is what I mean. I'm coming from a point where I'm just saying I'm a Takashinga Highfield, right?
Yeah.
Where you are like, actually,
then all of a
and
sudden,
then here I am. They're asking for your autograph. You know, in India it's crazy.
yeah,
So you don't even have your signature. That is proper for an autograph.
you don't even have a signature for the bank.
You see, so that was quite an experience. I'll never forget that experience. And also the financial reward that we got. We didn't expect to get anything, but they gave us quite a substantial allowance. And then when I got home, I was like, oh my dad.
Look at me now.
Yeah. So I think
brilliant.
God saw it fit for that.
Yeah.
And I had worked hard for it. Like the previous qualifiers that we had, you know, Tando was player of the tournament, and then I was the runner-up. So somehow, in a way, I think it was just
On your way out of India, you got a present from someone.
from someone.
Yes.
It's been a long time.
Yes, I know it's been a long time, but I remember that you didn't like that present at first because you didn't know what it was.
Actually, you'll have to refresh my memory.
Yes, you got something that looked like chocolates. But you didn't know that it was chocolate, did you?
No.
No.
Look, this was the first time, experiencing such treatment, such an experience.
Yeah.
And look, I was from Highfield.
So you didn't expect people to be nice to you?
No, like even when we went to watch matches, they would just say, whatever you want, you can order anything you want, drinks, whatever. And here you're thinking, probably, what can I take home?
Yeah.
But you can't take.
You can't take home. But
yeah.
obviously, after that experience that you had, how did you feel when you came back here? Mm-hmm. Did it change you in terms of your work ethic, the way you looked at the game at that point? Did it change?
Yes, because I realized for you to achieve more, you have to work a lot harder. It's not given that you will get what it is you hope for, but you have to work for it.
Yeah.
So it was a moment of introspection where you say, what else can I do, right, to make sure I maintain.
I go back there again.
Yes. So it was a lot of hard work.
You spoke about Tando being player of the series in those qualifiers. There was a match that you played that everybody felt you could have won. Cherise and Krista, they did their thing there at the end. Take me through that, because you were captain and you felt like you should have won that game. And you ended up missing out by one run.
Yeah, you see, we still go back to us as bettors. We didn't play our part, especially the top order.
Yeah.
So we ended up having to rely on people that are naturally not supposed to anchor the team, So it was a lot of pressure on them. So, it was a very sensitive and very emotional game. But
you had a good game though, because you got 2 wickets for 38 number 10.
But my role was mainly actually to bat.
Okay, and that day you didn't bat well enough.
No, I didn't. So it was very painful.
So on days where you as captain don't do well, all right? I want to pick your brains. On days where you as captain don't do well and the team doesn't do well,
Yes.
do you come hard on the guys?
Yes.
You still do?
Yes, I do.
You did?
Yes, I did.
On that particular day, you were quite ferocious.
I mean, we cried. I also cried, right? We gave each other time to cry. And then after that, look, the show has to go on.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about, looking at where exactly we were at fault, who was at fault. It doesn't mean if I was the captain, then I was flawless.
Yeah.
It was an open platform where if I didn't do well, someone would just say, no, but you didn't do well, right? But at the end of the day, there has to be a certain level of respect because I'm the captain.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that I'm not supposed to be corrected or to be told where I did wrong.
And then you played against Scotland in one of the most phenomenal matches I've seen a lady play. You got 48 not out and you got a couple of wickets for close to nothing. Take me through that game.
Wow, I had forgotten about that game.
How can you forget about such games, Julia? Come on, help me out here.
Look, that game was, I think, one of the good games that I've played. I remember there were some people who were in the crowd who were cheering. And unfortunately, my goal was to get a 50. But unfortunately, I couldn't.
But you were not out, so that was an incentive, isn't it?
Yeah, but then our coach wanted to make sure if you are going to get to 48, go all the way.
Go all the way,
You
yeah.
find a way of going all the way, because 48 is not a 50.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So it doesn't go on record as half century.
Yeah.
But we did well. It was a good win.
Julia, I wanna delve into you being a woman and playing cricket. Because you have to still do dishes at home. You still have to wife. You still have to come back here and perform. You still have to go through childbirth and still come back and be fit and perform at the very same level that you are known to perform. That's phenomenal. How do you guys do it?
I think just being a woman is a superpower.
That is a superpower.
There are things that you naturally don't think you'll be able to do, but eventually you find yourself doing. So, I'm happy that now we have quite a number of women who are married, quite a number of them who have children, and they have been allowed to bring their babies into camp. So it takes that pressure that I talked about earlier away from having to worry what's happening at home because the child is there. And also the fact that they are in a secure environment.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I've been happy about. Zimbabwe cricket has really done well on that. And look, the aspect of dishes and doing other chores, you still have to do them, but it's just an issue of balancing. But we do have families that have now come to accept that cricket is a job, right? So, and to some extent now there's remuneration that is coming in. So you can afford to get someone, a helper who can do some of those chores for you.
Yeah.
And then when you're available, you can always just
I want to speak about a few unsung heroes in the game of cricket. You think of any people who have actually pushed the game to be where it is now? Before I give you any clues, obviously.
Women, obviously.
Yeah. Okay.
Sneaky Pofu, the assistant coach. We have Tando. We have Emily. We have Nonka. She's just back now. We have Joanna. We have Chipo, Kanjanda. Look, I could go on and on.
But I want to understand the role and even as a coach that Mr. Emmanuel Dube played in the game of cricket in women.
I think Emmanuel Dube, he sort of toughened us as women in the sense that we now played cricket with without thinking that I'm a girl, but it was more of cricket is cricket, regardless of your gender. And he was a no-nonsense man. So if you were late,
Oh, it still is.
yeah. So he didn't take excuses. He was sensitive to our, our needs and what we go through as women. But he didn't take too much of those excuses, because you end up saying, "Oh, because this happened, I couldn't."
Yeah.
Right? When you're at the cricket ground, do what is expected of you. The moment practice is finished, that's when he would ask, "How are things at home?" Right? But being female, you just want to mix everything. But in terms of how he nurtured us to be where we were at that level, I think it takes someone who is passionate about the game, and not just necessarily the game, but also on the women's side. It's not easy to coach ladies.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's hats off to him for all that. He's had some stressful moments on tour where we almost lost a game, and then you see that this man is stressed.
And there was a part where he actually didn't pick all the senior players.
Yes, look, he was a straight talker.
Yeah. How did you take it? Like all the senior players, like the core of the team, you're not playing today.
I think his approach was a bit different, in the sense that he would speak to us individually.
Okay.
And then during the team talk, he would come hard at you.
Right.
So it was, I've spoken to you, but it doesn't mean that since I spoke to you, you're going to play. If you're not doing well, you're not doing well. You're going to sit out. So there wasn't that animosity. But I mean, look, you always want to play. Yeah. So if I'm not playing, I'm not happy.
And now the ladies have got a new coach in Gary Brent. Obviously, you will be in close contact with him as a convener of selectors, and you guys will work hand in clash. But I want to understand, do you think there was need for change in that office?
Look, I think in any setup, there's always room for change. Right? It just depends on the reasons why there's need for change. But looking at how we've fared so far, probably they just felt, let's just change it a bit and see how we fare with the other teams as we go along.
And you know Gary from being in and around. How do you think you affect the team going forward?
It's a bit early to say, but I've known Gary for a while. When we were still playing, like, he used to also just come and watch games, particularly when we were at country club. So he has an idea of women's cricket. It's not something that is new to him.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can bring to the team. And yeah, look, I can't really say much now. It's a little bit premature.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just.
I wanna go back into that lounge room of yours. You were a captain before Chamu became a captain.
Yes.
And then he became captain. Did he come looking for notes?
Not really. I mean, we always have casual conversations where, we just say, okay, how is your approach? Right? But I think me and Chamo are sort of like a chilled,
Okay.
sort of, we've got a chilled approach. So we try as much as possible to just read the situation in the room,
Yeah.
and then try and see what fits.
And we have seen a couple of cyber bullies going after him, actually, and on social media. Actually, he's a chilled guy and he's taking it nicely. But if that were to happen to you, how do you deal with it? And is there something that can be done to try and trim out such things?
I think that comes with the trade, obviously. You'd expect positives and negatives from all angles. But it's just understanding where you're coming from and where you want to go at the end of the day. Because if you want it to affect much of your own being, then you end up in one place. So these are things that happen. It's just like having a bad day, right? You don't score as you expected.
Yeah.
People are going to say whatever they want.
Yeah.
But then if you say, oh, because they said this, now I'm being attacked, so I shouldn't be like this, or they shouldn't. Look, this is life. These are
At the end of
things.
the day,
Yeah,
yes.
these are things we should expect. So I don't. There's some things that toughen us.
And you think that has made him to be the person that he is? Because actually he takes it nicely. You see some of the interactions he has with some of the fans. He is actually taking it well, better than other people.
He has maintained who he has always been. And I think it's from the background of our upbringing as well, where there really isn't much negativity that you can bring to me that I haven't really faced
Before,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, my father was a policeman, right? There are certain standards that you are expected to uphold. If you don't, so we lived in a community where people would still say what they want,
Yeah.
but
You have to deal with it.
yeah.
Now I'm going to give you a unique opportunity to be the first woman to give us an all-time women's team amongst the players that you have played with, the players that you are playing now, even some who might have played before you. I want 11 to play a one-day game for me.
Okay. So that would be me. Then I would have Marianne Sonda,
Okay.
Josephine Komo.
Yeah.
I would have Noncha Hanyati. Then I would have Modesta Mpachikwa, Precious Marange.
Precious Marange. She'll probably come in at 6 and do the business down there.
Now she'll come down, way down.
Way down.
I would have her at 8 because she would come into ball as well.
Okay.
Joanna Chenjag,
Okay.
8. This is quite tricky.
Yeah, it is quite tricky.
Shan Mad. Oh,
Oh, you have Shan
Shan Mad.
Oh, she open the bet with, if I'm right, she opened the bet with Mpachikwa.
I would have Tando, and then I would have Sharis
Charis.
Sainis.
So I want also if you are going to play a test match.
A test match?
Yes.
Well, that's a tricky one.
Yes, I know, but from the same squad. Give me 11 that can play a test match for us.
Sneaky way, Modesta,
Modesto. She makes both teams. Lucky her.
Josephine. Oh, Noni, Nyati.
Okay, so she'll also take the gloves there.
She on what? 4.
On 4.
Test. Okay, let's drop down to the bowlers.
Yeah.
So that I balance it.
Yes.
Lorraine Piri,
Okay.
Lorraine Chuma.
Oh, okay, so 2 spinners.
Yeah. Nometa Tessa. This one is a rookie, but Francesca. We would also have
Yeah, taking you back, eh?
yeah, Tando, and then Chanjeg. Joanna would still be.
Okay.
Josephine is there, isn't it?
Yeah, just finish there.
Ish. I'm trying to see who I.
You're trying to see who you can add into that list.
Myself.
You know, I was wondering why. You know, because you were a sensible better. You could spend time at the crease.
Yeah, but I don't
And
think
that-
I would have been fit enough.
But Julia, it's been a pleasure to have you. You know, I know you had to give up a lot to be here. So me and the team would definitely appreciate you taking our time and coming out here and telling us a lot about your life and the things that you went through and the highs and lows of your career and now what you're doing and how you're enjoying it. I hope that you keep going from strength to strength, you know, as a convener, and I just hope that there is less fights amongst you selectors, because I know that things can be tough. But thank you so much for coming to the show.
No, thank you for having me.
Excellent. There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We've come to the end of our show today. I was here at Harare Sports Club, chilling and really having an in-depth analysis and history of Julia Chibhabha as a cricketer, as a coach, now as a convener of selectors. My name is Tinashe Chimbambo, and this is Court and Bout. We shall have you again on the other show. Cheers.